All right. So far, what we've discussed has been, various things. First, of course, linear programming, formulation of linear programming problems, and solution methods, graphical methods, simplex method. And last time we looked at sensitivity analysis. So today we're going to look at some very important applications of linear programming. So we'll look at various ways in which can be applied. Actually, okay, I'll show you through the textbook also. The very interesting applications that we have of this. And the important thing is the more variety of types of applications you see, the more interesting or the more you'll understand how to apply it in different contexts. That's the important thing about this chapter actually. Okay, so let's start with something called the blending problem. Though I suppose this isn't the best one to start with, but okay. All right, now suppose the following. Frederick's Feed Company receives 4 raw grains from which it blends its dry pet food. Okay. The pet food advertises that each 8 ounce can meet the minimum daily requirements for vitamin C, protein, and iron. The cost of each raw grain, as well as the vitamin C, protein, and iron contents per pound of each grain are summarized in the next slide. Frederick is interested in producing 8 ounce mixture at minimum cost while meeting the daily requirements of 6 units of vitamin C, 5 units of protein, 5 units of iron. Right? A very simple problem. So these are the 4 grains, grains 1 to 4, vitamin C content, protein content, and iron content, and these are the cost per pound. Okay. So what is our objective? Well, see, basically, the decision variables that we will take in this case are the quantity of each of the grains to be used in the 8 ounce mixture. Okay, the quantity of the grains to be used in the 8 ounce mixture, so X1 to X4. And what our objective is to minimize the total cost. So minimize, what is the objective? Well, if we go back, 0.75 into X1, 0.9 into X2, 0.8 into X3, plus 0.7 into X4. This is our objective function, which we're trying to minimize. Okay, and what are the constraints? Well, first of all, the total weight has to be equal to 8 ounces. 8 ounces, by the way, is half a pound, 0.5 pound. And so X1 plus X2 plus X3 plus X4 must be equal to 0.5. Total vitamin C content must be at least 6 units. So if you look at vitamin C unit, so 9x1, 16x2, 8x3 plus 10x4 should be greater than or equal to 6. It should be equal to also here. Maybe I'll just put that in actually. And it should be greater than or equal to, all of them should be greater than or equal to. Okay, so total amount of vitamin C is at least 6 units. Total amount of protein. What is the total amount of protein? 12x1, 10x2, 10x3 plus 8x4. That should be greater than or equal to 5. And iron, 0 here, 14x2, 15x3 plus 7x4 should be greater than or equal to 5. And of course, all variables should be non-negative. Okay, and this is our optimal solution. So, how many pounds of each? So 0.099 pounds of X1. X1 is grain 1. 0.213 pounds of grain 2. 0.088 pounds of grain 3. And 0.099 pounds of grain 4. Okay. Optimal objective function value is 0.406. That's the total cost. Okay. So about 0.1 and so on. All right, so that was a simple one. Let's look at a portfolio planning problem. So that was application. And by the way, if we just try to generalize these, anywhere where we're trying to, so especially for example, when we're looking at things like plastic products or, so plastic is different in the same set of ingredients blended together in different ways. So for example, that when we're looking, for example, at petroleum. So again, you have different grades of petroleum depending on how you mix it. Mix different crude and other things together, right? So all these are examples of blending problems. Okay, so where you have different ingredients blended together in different proportions. Sometimes also no fixed proportion is given. So, for example, here no fixed proportion was given. So there may be some ranges. It should be between this and this, that type of thing. So those are some interesting examples that we have. Okay, we'll look at some other examples of this later on. Okay, now portfolio planning problem. So Winslow Saving has $20 million available for investment. So it wishes to invest over the next 4 months in such a way that it can maximize the total interest earned over the 4-month period, as well as have at least $10 million available at the start of the 5th month for a high-rise building venture in which it will be participating. So we want to invest this money in different avenues. What are the avenues available to us? So for the time being, Winslow wishes to invest only in 2-month government bonds, earning 2% over the 2-month period, and 3 months construction loans, earning 6% over a 3-month period. Each of these is available each month for investment. Funds not invested in the 2 investments are liquid and earn 0.75%, so 0.75% per month when invested locally. Okay, so this is what we have to us. Okay, so formulate a linear programming problem that will help Winslow Savings determine how to invest over the next 4 months if at no time does it wish to have more than $8 million in either government bonds or construction bonds. So this is a further set of constraints. So question is, what are we trying to decide here? What do we need to decide? Where to invest? So how to take our $20 million and how to invest it. Okay. Now the problem is this. So we have these $20 million, and each month we have government bonds, construction loans, and what is not invested in this, we have local loans or something like that. Local loans. Okay. So we have each month we have 3 different investment opportunities: government bonds, construction loans, and local loans. Okay. So each month we have to decide how much to spend or how much to invest in government bonds. Let's call that GJ. GJ means the amount of new investment in government bonds in month J. CJ is the amount of new investment in construction loans in month J. And LJ is the amount invested locally in month J. Okay? So let's see what happens. And we're maximizing the total interest earned over the 4-month period. So we're interested in getting, so basically if we invest G1, G2, G3, G4 government bonds in the 4 months, C1, C2, C3, C4 is the construction loan interest in the 4 months, and L1, L2, L3 is the local loans, and government bonds 2% interest in 2 months, construction loan 6% interest in 3 months, and these local loans are 0.75% interest per month, okay, each month. Okay, so now the first constraint is, now we take our $20 million and invest in the first month investment, G1, C1, and L1. So G1 plus C1 plus L1 must be equal to 20 million. Right? So you take that money, there's no point keeping it aside. It can earn interest through one of these loans. Okay. Now what happens in the next month? Well, in the next month, the problem is, the problem is, so the 2-month government bonds will give us the interest after 2 months. So in the second month, we don't have any other money except for what we've got from first month local loans. First month local loans, we'll get principal plus interest in the second month, which we can then invest again. So first month local loans, principal plus interest we get in the second month, and we then invest that in government bonds, so G2, C2, L2. Now, from the second month onwards, now, the government bonds from the first month and the local loans from the second month come together. Those have matured. And so now in the third month, I can invest those. So 1.02G1 plus 1.0075L2 is the money I've received. I invest that in G3, C3, and L3. Okay, in the next month, what happens? In the next month, construction loans from the first month, government loans from the second month, and local loans from the third month all mature. So I get 1.06C1, 1.02G2, 1.0075L3, and then I invest G3, C3 as D4, C4, and L4. Now, what happens in the fifth month? Well, at the start of the fifth month, whatever I have left over, at the end of the fourth month rather, whatever interest I receive, so 1.06C2, basically 1 month after this, 1.06C2, 1.02G3, and 1.0075L4 should be greater than or equal to, we wanted at least 10 million to be in hand. So greater than or equal to 10 million. Now, also, at no point of time should we have more than 8 million invested in government bonds. So, initially, G1 less than or equal to 8 million. Then in the second month, G1 plus G2 should be less than or equal to 8 million. Then G2 plus G3 in the third month should be less than or equal to 8 million. And in the fourth month, G3 plus G4 should be less than or equal to 8 million. And same consideration for construction loans. C1 should be less than or equal to 8 million. C1 plus C2 should be less than or equal to 8 million. C1 plus C2 plus C3 should be less than or equal to 8 million. And then C2 plus C3 plus C4 should be less than or equal to 8 million. And of course, all the variables should be non-negative. Okay, so shall we, okay, we can, oh, it hasn't solved it for us, so it expects us to solve. Okay, so let's solve this. Okay, where is the problem? All right, so here is our, okay, we'll do it in Excel. Huh? Yes, keep. Okay, so where is Excel? Excel is here. So we need to determine, all right, so what is it that we need to determine? G1, G2, G3, G4. C1, C1, C2, C3, and C4. L1, L2, L3, and L4. Okay? These are the decision variables. Okay? And our total interest, or total returns, whatever, is, well, 2% for these, 4, 6% for these 4, and 0.0075%, 7.75% for these. Okay? Then, so year 1. So year 1. Okay, let's call it year 0 actually. Or beginning of year 1. What should we call it? 0 or 1? It's more confusing. Okay. So year 1. Assuming that it's at the beginning of year 1. So year 1 to year 5 we'll need. Okay, year 1 to year 5. Then GB1 to GB5 and to GB4. And then C1 to C4. Okay, let's call it CN1 to CN4. Okay. All right, so, okay, so now in month 1, sorry, they're not year, month 1. Month 1 to month 4, not years. Okay, so, all right, so month 1, we have G1, C1, and L1 equal to how much? 20 million. Yeah? Yes, that's the first constraint, right? G1, C1, L1 equal to 20 million. Yeah. Now, in the next one, G2, C2, L2 minus 1.0075 L1 is equal to 0. Okay, so G2, C2 and L2 and minus 1.0075 into L1 should be equal to 0. Yes? Now, in the third month, beginning of third month, so here we'll get an identity matrix, and here minus 1.0075, and here we'll get minus 1.02, because 2% after 2 months receipt, right? Yeah? Okay. That will be again equal to 0. Huh? Oh, 0 will become 1, yes. Okay, now next one. G4, C4 and L4. Here, minus 1.0075. Here, this becomes minus 1.02. And here, this becomes minus 1.06. Okay? And in fact, actually, we can just copy this down. Oh, no. Well, it will become greater than or equal to. Okay, so this is done. Okay. Then this one is done for month 4. Month 4 we've done, right? At month 5, positive. So 1.06, 1.02, and so on. So this one becomes 1.02 here, 1.06 here, and 1.0075 here. And this should now be greater than or equal to, oh, this is also equal to 0. And this one is greater than or equal to how much? 10 million. 10 million there. Okay. Now, the government bonds. Okay, so first month only G1, then G1, G2, G2, G3, G3, G4, right? These are for government bonds. Oh, C1, okay, then C1, C2, C1, C2, C3, then C2, C3, and C4. All of these should be less than or equal to 8 million. Okay, less than or equal to 8 million, right? Yeah? Okay, so let's hope it, yeah. Okay, very, very simple. And now I'll create my left-hand side here. This is equal to sum product of coefficients with my variables. Fix the variables, C4 to N4. Okay, and copy that down. All right. Okay, so this is my objective. Okay, so solve. Oh, maximize them. Yeah, sure. Maximize that. Maximum interest. These are the variables and these are the constraints. So these are equality constraints equal to these. Next one is a greater than equal to constraint, greater than equal to this. And all of these are less than equal to constraints, less than equal to these. Okay, solve, and we got it. Okay, so what is it? This is 0 basically, okay? All right, so this is 0. All right, yeah. Okay, so what do we have? So 8 million in government bonds, first month, 8 million government bonds, 8 million construction loan, and the remaining 4 million. 8 plus 8, 16 plus 4 million. Yeah, 4 million in local loans. Okay, then second month, don't invest in either. So whatever we've got will earn interest, and that has come as 4,03,000, 30,000. 4,030,000, right? 4,030,000. Invest that straight in L2. Then in third month, now we can invest in some government bonds. So 5 million something in government bonds. Okay, whatever the available amount is at that time. Okay, so 5 million in government bonds, and again nothing in construction loan. Then in the fourth month, again we'll get something in construction loan from local loans. Invest 2 million or something, or 2 million in government bonds, and 8 million in construction loan. And so our total interest earned is how much? 1 billion, 1 million for 1.43 million. 1.43. Oh, pretty good. Huh? Yeah, on average 5%. Okay. So, what is the? Okay, so yeah, so over 4 months we got 1.4 million, 1.43 million interest. Okay. All right. Some of the other sensitivity analysis. Is it very sensitive? Yes, as you can see, these are really very sensitive. So a slight change in the interest rate can affect our optimal solution. If you see, very, very small, very sensitive this is. So if it decreases by a small amount, it may not be, okay? So even here actually, all of them are quite narrow ranges actually. Oh no, these are not, but this one is definitely quite sensitive. So G1 especially. Oh, here also L3. L3 is also good, and here also L1. So if local loans become a little more profitable, give a little more interest, it can totally change the nature of our allocation. So we have to be careful. Now, which ones are binding constraints? Well, of course, where's the 20 million? Of course, 20 million is binding. And what is our dual value there? 3.48%. So any additional investment will earn a marginal rate of return of 3.8%. Of course, over a 4-month period. So over a 4-month period. Okay, what else do we have? Again, if we are able to relax some of these, so we made some big restrictions. Now, 8 million at most. If we're able to relax those constraints, we can again improve our objective function. And requiring that 10 million that has negative shadow price. That means requiring 10 million at the end of the 5th month or beginning of 5th month is actually putting a pressure on us. If we didn't require that much, we can increase the interest because we're keeping the money in local loan rather than in government bonds or construction. Okay. Right? So in that way, nothing else. Okay, so that's the main thing. Okay, so all that is quite interesting. Right? This isn't quite a portfolio planning problem, but okay, it's a bond portfolio. Okay, so here's another interesting problem. So Floataway Tours has 4,20,000 that may be used to purchase new rental boats for hire during the summer. The boats can be purchased from 2 different manufacturers. Floataway Tours would like to purchase at least 50 boats in total and would like to purchase the same number from the 2 different manufacturers, Sleek Boat and Racer, to maintain goodwill. Okay, so They may be unhappy that they're buying more from the other. At the same time, Floatway Tours wishes to have a total seating capacity of at least 200, and pertinent data is in the given slide, formulate as a linear program flow. So, there are two builders, Sleek Boat and Racer. Sleek Boat builds Speedhawk and Silverbird. Racer builds Catman and Classy. The cost of each of the boats, 6,000, 7,000, 5,000, and 9,000. Seating capacity, 3, 5, 2, and 6, and expected daily profit. Of course, we want to maximize, so we need to determine how many of the boats to order from each of them to maximize our total profit. So X1 is number of Speedhawks to be ordered, X2 is Silverbirds, X3 class Catmans, X4 Classies, and expected profit is 70 X1 plus 80 X2 plus 50 X3 plus 110 X4. Okay? All right, so now what else, what other constraints are there? Well, we want 4,20,000 is our budget. So this expenditure should be less than. So 6,000 X1, 7,000 X2, 5,000 X3 plus 9,000 X4 should be less than or equal to 4,20,000. Then we want to purchase at least 50 boats. So X1 plus X2 plus X3 plus X4 should be greater than or equal to 50, and equal number of from both manufacturers. So X1 plus X2 should equal X3 plus X4. So X1, X2 minus X3 minus X4 should be greater than or equal to, should be equal to 0. Okay. And capacity should be at least 200. So 3x1 plus 5x2 plus 2x3 plus 6x4 should be greater than or equal to 200. And of course, all variables are non-negative. So this is the formulation. And okay, let's just, instead of solving, let's see. So what is our final solution? By 28, whatever that was, Speedhawks and 28 Classies. Okay, 28 Speedhawks, 28 Classies. Okay, now what are the reduced costs here? So X2 and X3 have reduced costs. That means if we buy them, if we decide to buy the other ones, they'll reduce our total profit per day. Now, what about these? So first constraint is binding and has a dual price of, first constraint is spending, right? So dual price of that is 0.012. That means if I had more capital to put in, my profit can increase by 0.012 per unit. I invest more. Okay. The second one, we have excess of 6. So we're already exceeding the number of boats. We wanted 50, but we're buying 56. This one is, so next one is binding, which is equal sourcing. Okay. And if we disturb that, if we buy one more from the other side, then our profit will decrease actually. Okay. And we've gone in excess of the minimum seating by 52. Right? We wanted minimum of 200. We're getting actually 252 seats. Okay. So our summary is purchase 28 Speedhawks from Sleek Boat, 28 Classies from Racer. Expected daily profit is 5,040,000. No, 5,040. Sorry, 5,040. Minimum number of boats was exceeded by 6, and minimum seating capacity was exceeded by 52. Okay, so very, very simple. Okay, and this is our sensitivity report. Same thing. Okay, so let's look at the Navy application. Okay, so many interesting applications. Right? So a Navy has 9,000 pounds of material in Albany, Georgia, which it wishes to ship to 3 installations: San Diego, Norfolk, and Pensacola. They require 4,000, 2,500, and 2,500 pounds respectively. government regulations require equal distribution of shipping among the three carriers. Oh. Okay. Shipping cost per pound for truck, railroad, and airplane transit are shown in the next slide. Formulate a linear program to determine the shipping arrangements, mode, destination, and quantity that will minimize the total shipping cost. Okay. Right? So these are the costs of shipping through truck, railroad, and aeroplane. Okay. Clearly, aeroplane is much more, truck is cheapest. Okay. To the three different destinations: San Diego, Norfolk, and Pensacola. All right. So what do we need to determine? We need to determine how much to ship by each of the different modes. So X11 is the quantity shipped by truck to San Diego. X12 by truck to Norfolk. X13 is by truck to Pensacola. X21 is by railroad to San Diego. X22 is by railroad to Norfolk. X23 is by railroad to Pensacola. X31 is by airplane to San Diego. X32 by airplane to Norfolk. X33 airplane to Pensacola. Okay, so these are the decision variables. And we're trying to minimize the total cost. The total cost is unit transportation cost multiplied by quantity. So 12x11, 6x12, 5x13, 20x22, 11x23, and so x22, and so on. Yeah, that's the total cost, which we're trying to minimize. Now, how do we determine this? Well, basically, the constraints are supply and demand. Later on, we're going to see this is an example of a transportation problem, which is our next chapter. So basically, equal use of transportation modes. So we have totally 9,000 units that have to be transported. If we divide them equally, each mode has to transport 3,000 units. Yes? And so by truck, X11 plus X12 plus X13 must equal 3,000. By railroad, X21 plus X22 plus X23 must equal 3,000. And by aeroplane, X31, 32 plus X33 must equal 3,000. And the destination requirements are again 4,000, 2,500, and 2,500. So X11, X21, X31 equals 4,000. X12, X22, X32 equals 2,500. X13, X23, X33 equals 2,500. And of course, all the variables are non-negative. Okay, so very simple. Make a list like this and just add them. Okay, so truck, rail, and airplane. So this is our final solution. So truck to San Diego is 1,000. No, it wasn't San Diego, no? Oh, God. The typical problem. San Diego, Norfolk, Pensacola. Okay, so truck to San Diego 1,000, truck to Norfolk 2,000, railway to Norfolk 500, railway to Pensacola 2,500, airplane to San Diego 3,000, and the total cost is $142,000. Notice these particular routes. So truck to Pensacola, railway to San Diego, airplane to Norfolk and Pensacola will increase the cost. If we use those routes, will increase the cost by that amount possible. So those are the reduced costs. San Diego will receive 1,000 pounds by truck, 3,000 by aeroplane. Norfolk will receive 2,000 by truck, 500 by railroad. Pensacola 2,500 by railroad. Total shipping cost is 142,000. Okay, next interesting one is, next problem is something called data envelopment analysis. Okay. Now, data envelopment analysis is a way of measuring efficiency. Okay, very, very important method. It's very commonly used actually. There are actually two methods that we use. One is called data envelopment efficiency. Another is called stochastic frontier efficiency. Both are the commonly used methods for analyzing efficiency. Both, okay? But out of these, data envelopment analysis usually works better when we're dealing with services. So things like, for example, hospitals, which is the example I think they're going to look at, or is it schools? Schools here, okay? Okay, so hospitals, schools, banks. I myself do a lot of research with banks. Then I think other applications, insurance is another, like that. A lot of, generally in service industries, this works better, okay? So now, data envelopment analysis is a linear programming application used to determine the relative operating efficiency of units with the same goals and objectives. I used it for IT recently, IT industry recently. It was just last month, no, January. Anyway, so DEA creates a fictitious composite unit made of an optimal weighted average of existing units. So what we're doing is we're comparing each unit with this composite unit. Now, the basic idea is, so when will you call something efficient? When will you say that some unit is efficient? When it can produce with the same amount of, rather we'll say inefficient. We'll say that a unit is inefficient if I can produce at least as much output with less input. Okay, so suppose someone is working on something. I'll say that this person is inefficient if I can produce at least as much as he produces with less input. Then that person is inefficient, right? That's the idea here. So an individual unit can be compared by determining E, the fraction of the unit's input required to produce the same amount of output. Okay? If E is less than 1, then K is less efficient than the composite and is therefore inefficient. If E is equal to 1, we cannot really say that they're inefficient, but we cannot conclude that they're efficient, but at least they don't seem to be inefficient. Now, basically, this is what is called input-oriented efficiency. We're looking at what fraction of inputs are required to produce at least as much output. We also can deal with output-oriented efficiency, but this is a convenient way of doing it. And another way is actually looking at weighted average. So weighted average outputs divided by weighted average inputs. That's another approach. But this is the approach that works best. Actually, input-oriented efficiency works best usually. All right, now, so the model is basically this. We're trying to find the minimum value of E such that the weighted average output is greater than or equal to the target unit's output, and the weighted average inputs are less than E times the target unit's inputs, with the sum of weights equals 1. Now, here also, there's something called constant returns to scale and variables returns to scale, depending on what you assume in terms of weights. If you put less than or equal to 1 in terms of weight, this is constant returns to scale. If you allow the sum of weights to be less than or equal to 1, we call that variables returns to scale. Okay, so here's an application. Langley County School District is trying to determine the relative efficiency of 3 high schools. Okay, in particular, it wants to evaluate Roosevelt High School. Okay, the district is evaluating performance on SAT scores, number of seniors finishing high school, and number of students who enter college as a function of number of teachers teaching in senior classes, the prorated budget for senior instruction, and the number of students in the senior class. Okay, so these first 3 are the outputs. SAT score, that is how their aptitude, basically it's like an aptitude. the number of seniors finishing high school, that is the completion rate, and the number of students who enter college. Okay, so we want good quality students who enter college, right? So those are the outputs, and inputs are number of teachers. The input is teachers, of course, teachers teaching senior classes, the budget, expenditure, and the number of students in the senior class, so class strength. Okay, now this is the data. So these are the inputs, Roosevelt, Lincoln, and Washington. As you can see, Roosevelt seems to have higher inputs. Okay, do you observe? So 37 faculty, 6.2 budget, 6.4 budget, and larger number of enrollments. But what is their output? Output doesn't seem to be any much more than the other two. Okay, so clearly Roosevelt seems to be inefficient, right? You can see, no? The inputs are much higher. 37 is much higher, 6.4 is much higher, and 850. So all the inputs are much higher, and the output is somewhere, okay, see, SAT is much lower than the other two, 450 is somewhere between those two, and 140 again is much lower than, okay, so clearly Roosevelt is going to be inefficient. So let's find out how inefficient. Okay, so what are the decision variables? So I'm targeting Roosevelt because we can see that it's inefficient. So the fraction of Roosevelt's input resources required in the composite. WIs are the weights of each of the schools in the composite. And we want to minimize, or we want to find the minimum level of E. Okay. Now, first, the sum of weights is equal to 1. Second is weighted average outputs. So take the outputs of each of the schools and multiply by the weights. 800 W1, 830 W2, 900 W3 should be greater than or equal to Roosevelt, which is 800. Okay, that's how the constraints are formed. Similarly, 450 W1, 500 W2, 400 W3 should be greater than or equal to 450. 140 W1, 250 W2, 370 W3 should be greater than or equal to 140. Okay, so those are the output constraints. Weighted average output greater than or equal to the outputs of the targets. Now, what about inputs? Inputs, we take weighted average input. So 37 W1, 35 W2, and 23 W3, and make that less than or equal to the target input, 37 into E. Into E. Similarly with the others. 6.4 W1, 5 W2 plus 4.7 W3 less than or equal to 6.4 E. And then 850 W1, 700 W2, 600 W3 less than or equal to, 1 second. Oh, less than or equal to 850 E. Okay, so, all right, so done. And of course, non-negativity. So let's see the output. Okay, and E turns out to be 0.765. So only 76.5% of resources used by Roosevelt are actually required to produce the same level of outputs. Okay, and the weights here, see, Roosevelt's weight is 0. That means it's not efficient. And these two fall in what is called the efficient frontier. Okay? Efficient frontier. Okay? Let's see where the slacks are. Oh, I see. Okay. So, output shows that composite school made of equal weights of Lincoln and Washington. Roosevelt is 76.5% efficient compared to the composite school. So it is less than under constraint number 4, right? If you look at the input constraints, which is, oh God, wait. Okay, constraint 4, which is college admissions. Okay, no, it can't be college admissions. Okay. Okay. Constraint number 3, rather. Constraint number 3. Right? Which is constraint number 3? Graduates. Okay. In terms of graduates. Okay. And on this side, we have this one. Constraint number 7. Which is in terms of constraint 7 is seniors. Okay. So actually, this is the level of efficiency for constraint 4. Constraint 4 is not the one. Constraint 3 actually. They made a mistake. College admissions. Okay. All right. So 76.5% efficient compared to composite when measured by college admissions. Is it college admissions? No, it's graduates, not college admissions. Okay, it's in terms of graduates, not college admissions. Maybe I'll just edit this. Constraint number 3. Otherwise, graduates. If we don't fix it, then okay, 0 slack in that constraint. It is less than 6.5% efficient when compared to oh God, what was the other one? College admissions. And college admissions. Okay, slack and 2 and 4. Okay. All right. So, okay. So that's how we take. All right. So, but let me tell you beforehand. Okay. When we apply DA, we have to be very, very careful because there were 2 or 3 different reasons. For DA to work properly, there are 2 things. One is size is an important factor. So, for example, the largest unit will automatically be efficient because you cannot produce more output than that anyway. There is no possible way of combining other units to produce more output than that. So sometimes you have to be careful because automatically large units will become efficient and automatically small units again will become efficient because you cannot reduce the inputs. Right? So if it's a unit using very less input, there's no way of reducing that. So that's one problem. Okay, one problem is that. So large units, so there's always a bias, both at the large and smaller end. Second thing was, what was the second thing I wanted to say? Another thing is, now sometimes, okay, sometimes you need to be careful because sometimes strategy is an important thing that you have to look at. So for example, if this Roosevelt, for example, had a specific strategy, right? In their strategy, wanted to have more senior faculty, that was part of their strategy, then saying that they're inefficient in that respect doesn't make sense because you also have to look at efficiency with respect to what is their strategic aspect, okay? So strategy is an important thing that has to be brought into this. So, for example, if strategy is an important component, then you cannot take just that as your indicator of efficiency. Another constraint has to be brought in to bring in strategy as an important indicator. Okay, that's one other thing. And another thing could be budget, for example. What was the there was a third consideration. This one. And another thing is, especially for example in manufacturing units, this type of linear additivity may not work. So there, of course, if you remember, everything depends on production function. This assumes a linear production function. So where linearity can hold, for example, then we can use this type of thing. So for services, for example, using a production function is meaningless because the same person can produce, for example, for a bank, the same teller handles a 5 rupee check and a 5 lakh rupee check. So the output doesn't depend on the input really in that sense, right? So there, of course, their DA works better. In manufacturing units, things like production function approach, stochastic frontier approach works better. Okay, so these are some considerations you have to think of there. Okay, so now that we have a lot more time left. So when applying DA, you have to be much more careful actually than just this. Okay, let's look at a couple of other applications. I think we should spend more time on applications, I think, before we get to transportation. We can start transportation problems also to the 5th class. Huh? Okay, all right, we'll see. All right, so let's look at this. Okay, this is there are actually 2 chapters in this book on applications. One is chapter 4, the other is chapter 5. These ones are, okay, anyway, that also, okay, we'll do some from each actually. Why specifically limit to these ones? Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so let's start with, okay, yeah. Let's start with a nice problem called media selection. Okay, media selection problems. Okay, no, this is not the new book. Yeah, this is last year. No, it's not even. Anyway, I've given you the soft copy, no? So that itself should be enough. It's not that this was last year's book. This book is called Management Science. So it doesn't, this is called management science, right? So it's not, it doesn't deal with other aspects like predictive and descriptive analytics. They, of course, the same authors have developed a book, well, same authors plus 2 others, or 3 others, have developed a book on predictive on analytics, which combines all of them, prescriptive, predictive, and as well as descriptive. In which I think this chapter was there in that book also, because anyway, but here this was for a different audience. Okay. All right, so let's look at media selection problems, media mix problems. So what is media selection? Well, trying to determine which media to invest in, to advertise in, and how many advertisements in each media to put. Okay. A very common type of application. Okay, media selection applications are designed to help marketing managers allocate a fixed advertising budget to various advertising media. Okay, potential media include things like newspaper, magazines, radio, television, mail, and so on. Right? In these applications, the common objective is to maximize reach, frequency, and quality of exposure. Okay. Restrictions on the allowable allocation usually arise from consideration of company policy, contract requirements, and media availability. Okay, so we'll do this for a particular case here. Okay, so Relax and Enjoy Lake Development Corporation is developing a lakeside community on a privately owned lake. The primary market for the lakeside lots and homes includes middle and upper class families within approximately 100 miles. Oh. Okay, what is happening? Please put soft copy. No, can you just share it? No, I'm a bit worried about putting it on the LMS because there's it's a copyright, but you can share it through this thing. Yeah, just Vinayak, I think just get in contact with some of the offline people. I've given it to them through pen drive. They can share it through this, what's that called? WhatsApp or something. Yeah? WhatsApp can take this. Oh, Google Drive, sorry. Yeah. It's, just get in touch. Can you tell him? Just in type and tell him. Okay. I think, oh, put the soft copy in LMS. We done. Oh, my number is 9. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the number, but so just message him and okay. All right. Yeah. Don't worry. It's available on that Google Drive. I think if you just give him the link, then they can take it. Okay. Okay. So yes. What were we saying? So after considering possible advertising media and the market to be covered, BPNJ has recommended first month's advertising to be restricted to 5 media. At the end of the month, we'll reevaluate this strategy and so on. Okay, so they collected some data regarding the number of potential customers reached, cost per advertisement, and maximum number of times each medium is available, and the exposure quality rating of each media. This quality rating is measured in terms of an exposure quality unit, relative value of one advertisement in each of the media. This measure, based on BPJ's experience in the advertising business, takes into account factors such as audience demographics, age, income, and education, whatever, image presented, and the quality of the advertisement. The information is provided in table 4.1 below. Okay, so here is, okay, here is the table. So we have 5 media: daytime TV, evening TV, daily newspaper, Sunday newspaper, and radio. This first column is the potential customer reach of each of these, 1,000, 2,000, whatever. Then the cost per advertisement, maximum times available per month, 1, 15, 10, and whatever, and the exposure quality units. Okay. So, all right. So, what are we trying to decide? Well, how many advertisements we should place in each of the media. Okay. So, how many times to use each of the media, or how many advertisements to place in each. So, DTV will be the number of advertisements in daytime TV, ETV in evening TV, DN in daily newspaper, SN in Sunday newspaper, and R in radio. Okay, so number of advertisements in each media. Okay. Now, what is our objective? Well, basically, exposure quality is what we're taking as the objective to start with. Okay. So let's look at our objective as exposure quality, and we were told exposure qualities are 65, 90, 40, 60, and 20. So total exposure quality is 65 into DTV, 90 into ETV, 40 into DN, 60 into SN, and 20 into R. That's the total exposure quality which we're trying to maximize. The one to maximize this. Now, what about the constraints? Well, first thing is availability. As we were told, there's limited availability in the media, so DTV should be less than or equal to 15, ETV should be less than or equal to 10, DN should be less than or equal to 25, SN less than or equal to 4, and R less than or equal to 30 availability. Next is our budget. Oh, the budget was 30,000. Oh, I didn't read that, is it? Oh, I missed out the entire, oh, sorry, I missed out the main paragraph. Very sorry. Relax and Enjoy provided BPNJ with an advertising budget of 30,000, right, for the first month's campaign. In addition, Relax and Enjoy imposed the following restrictions on how to allocate the funds. There should be at least 10 TV commercials, at least 50,000 potential customers should be reached, and no more than 18,000 should be spent on TV advertisement. So 4 constraints from there, 5 constraints from availability. So potential, so first one is the budget. So 1,500 into DTV plus 3,000 into ETV plus 400 into DN, 1,000 into SN plus 100 into R should be less than or equal to the budget, which is 30,000. Then we wanted at least 10 TV ads. So DTV plus ETV should be greater than or equal to 10. And at most 18,000 TV budget. So 1500 DTV plus 3000 ETV should be less than or equal to 18,000. And at least 50,000 customer reach. So 1000 DTV, 2000 ETV, 1500 DN, 2500 SN plus 300 R should be greater than or equal to 50,000. Okay? So let's do this over here. Okay, so what do we have? Okay, so DTV, ETV, DN, SN, and R are the advertising media. Okay. Okay, and our total exposure quality. Okay, so 65, 90, those are the only two I remember. 65, 90, 40, 60, 20. 40, 60, and 20. All right, and so first is budget. Budget is 1500, 3000, 1,000, 400, 1,100, 400, 1,000, and 100. Okay, and then TV budget. Immediately after that, I'll put TV budget, which are the first two here. Then minimum TV ads, which is this plus this, and then customer reach, minimum customer reach. Minimum customer reach, what is the customer reach? This one, 1,000, 2,000, 1,500, 2,500, and 300. 1,000, 2,000, 1,500, 2,500, and oh, that's 25,000. Oh, and 400 or 1? 300. 300 here. Okay, and then so maximum DTV, maximum ETV, then maximum DN, maximum SN, and maximum R. Okay, and it's just a simple identity matrix on the. Okay. Okay, and now we can do our optimization. Okay, so this is the coefficient and the variables. Fix the variables. Fix and fix. Okay, and copy this on the left-hand side here. Okay, first one is less than or equal to how much? 30,000. Next one is less than or equal to 18,000. Next one is greater than or equal to 10. Next one is greater than or equal to 50,000, right? 50,000. Okay, and these are all less than or equal to. Okay, first one is 15. Then I've forgotten. Evening TV 10, 25, 4, and 30. 10, 25, 4, and 30. Okay, so this is what we're trying to total exposure quality. So okay, sorry. So all right, so we're trying to maximize our total exposure quality. All of these are the variables. And okay, so first two are less than or equal to these two. Next two are greater than or equal to these two. And last 5 are less than or equal to these 5. Okay? All right. And we have our solution. So what is our solution? Well, we should go for 10 DTV ads, 0 ETV ads, 25 daily newspaper ads, 2 Sunday newspaper ads, and 30 radio ads. Okay, so we've completed, we've used up all the budget. We've not used up the TV budget. Our total exposure quality is 2370. We've met the requirement of 10 TV ads. We've exceeded the customer reach by 11,500 more. We're not using up all the TV ads, both of them. We're using up all daily newspaper and radio ads. Okay, first thing to observe is there's a reduced cost. ETV has a reduced cost. That means if we use ETV, our exposure quality is reducing by 65. So per unit that we use. Okay, not very sensitive here, so don't worry about those. Now, what are some of the shadow prices here? First thing is budget. Budget shadow price is 0.06. So if I put more dollars, more budget, increase the budget, my exposure can improve, okay, by 0.06. All right, only by another 2,000. Okay, we can increase the budget by at most 2,000. TV budget anyway is not even achieved. Yes, radio and daily newspaper. Both of these have positive dual value. So if we had more of these, if we can find more daily newspaper advertising slots and radio advertising slots, we can improve our exposure quality. And in fact, priority is for daily newspaper, right? Each extra daily newspaper slot increases our exposure by 16. And notice here, notice this one, asking for minimum 10 TV ads actually has a negative shadow price. So that means that actually reduces our exposure quality. So if we reduce the number of TV ads, instead of 10, from 9 or even less, we can improve. But how much is the allowable decrease? Only by 1. So we can insist on 1 less TV ad. That would actually improve our exposure quality by 25. Okay. So very, very simple. But let's do the following. See, this was in terms of exposure quality. Now, if I wanted a different objective, of course, reach is one of the major objectives of advertising. So if I decided that, okay, instead of maximizing exposure quality, suppose I wanted to maximize customer reach. So I'll take my customer reach coefficients and copy them here. Oh, yeah, okay. So forget about exposure quality. I'm looking now at customer reach. What is my total customer reach? Okay, what is my total customer reach? And how can I, so if I try to maximize my total customer reach, will I get a different solution? Why or why not? Yeah, it should technically give a different solution, right? It could give a different solution. As it turns out, it won't, though. Okay? So we can solve it again, maximize customer reach this time. These are the variables, and again, our same constraints. These two, next two are greater than or equal to, and last 5 are less than or equal to. Okay, simplex, and we solve. And what does it turn out? It turns out that the same solution maximizes customer reach in this case. And isn't that nice? Yeah. As it turns out, and this is a coincidence. By chance, it turns out that they're similar to the whatever the what were those called? The exposure quality is very similar or parallel in a sense to customer reach. So by chance, both have the same outcome. But one advantage of doing this, so apart from this surprise, one advantage of doing this is whatever we had seen in terms of exposure quality, now we can get concretely in terms of customer reach. So for example, remember we said that $1 of budget increase in budget increases the exposure quality by 0.06. God knows what that means. But in terms of customer reach, it increases by 2.5. So each extra dollar helps you reach 2.5 more customers. It's a more concrete thing to say. Similarly, each extra daily newspaper advertisement can increase our customer reach by 500. Each extra radio advertisement can increase our customer reach by 50. And insisting on 10 TV ads, or if we reduce our number of TV ads, minimum TV ads, we can increase our customer reach by 2,750. So clearly this is a better way, a different way of seeing it, actually. Okay? Now, any other objectives we can address in this? Well, what about cost? We can look at it from the cost angle also. Okay, so I'm going to again copy this and look at this in terms of minimum cost. Okay, so total cost this time. Total cost is what? Well, this time I take these coefficients. Okay, so this time if I want to minimize the total cost, will my solution be the same? Again, should be different, right? Should be different. So let's see. Okay, so I want to minimize the total cost this time. Okay, and what are the constraints? Okay, so what do you think? Will it be different and why? It has to be different. Why? Because this time, see, the basic difference here is, now what we'll do is, we'll see what is the minimum cost to reach this 50,000 customers. Earlier, we were maximizing the customer reach with a fixed budget. So the budget was fixed, we're trying to manage. Now this time we're saying, okay, to reach this 50,000 customers, what is the minimum that I require? And so this will be quite different. Okay. All right. So what is the difference? Quite big difference. Okay. 10 DTV ads, 25 daily newspaper ads, but now we're not using Sunday newspaper and we're using 8.33 radio ads. Okay. First of all, is it nice to have this 8.33 radio ads? 0.3 of a thing, that doesn't sound nice. Huh? So what we can do here is, we can use something called integer programming. Now, integer programming, the problem that we come across is the following. When we try to, so we can insist that all our variables, okay, select all the variables and declare them to be integers. But the problem is, when we do this, we cannot have a sensitivity analysis. So when we insist on integer programming, we lose the sensitivity analysis. And the result often becomes very different. So you'll see now what will happen is, everything will shift. Okay, you'll see what happens. Okay, so when we solve it, some peculiar thing happens, and the radio ads all become one daily Sunday newspaper ad. Some reason that is the least cost approach. So this isn't a very good type of solution, but we can at least see one more thing. Huh? Oh, sorry, 1 second. I don't think, I think I didn't do this correctly. 1 second. Yeah, sorry. I forgot to make this LPT. Okay. So let's remove this integer requirement for the moment. Solve it again. and then put the integer requirement. Okay, anyhow, as you could see, the integer requirement made a very peculiar thing. And now notice we can interpret everything in terms of its impact on cost. So for example, if we increase the budget, not increase the budget, so notice we're not using up the whole 30,000 budget. We can do this within 25,833. Okay, that's what is required to meet the customer reach. And for each additional customer that I want to reach, the cost is 0.333. Okay, so that gives me in terms of how much is the additional cost per customer. Okay, earlier it was if I increase by one, how many new customers am I getting? Now I'm looking at it per customer, how much is my additional expenditure. Okay, and the TV ads increased the cost by 1,166. So we can actually reduce that by reducing the requirement of 10 TV ads. We can reduce by 6.5 in this case. We can reduce even more in this case. But of course, to be fair, let's see what happens when we want to reach 61,500 customers. That was the customer reach there. So let's modify this problem once again. Okay, let's modify the problem once again. Reaching, to be fair, we want to see how much is required for 61,500 here. So I've changed my requirement, and let's see what the minimum total cost will be to reach this 61,500. Now we should get the same solution, yes or no? Right? Because now we've gone back to the first thing. Now we'll get the same solution, and this will be the opposite or reverse of the previous one. Okay, so let's see. Minimize total cost. These are less than or equal to these. These are greater than or equal to these. And these 5 are less than or equal to these 5 here. Okay? Sorry. Okay. Okay, these 5 here. Okay, all right. OPP, and now we can solve. And we get back to our previous solution. 10, 0, 25, 2, and 30. So, no, but this is minimizing the cost. So, right? Right? And now we can try to look at the dual values here versus the dual values there. Okay? So, TV ads, daily newspaper ads can reduce our cost by 200, and and radio can reduce our cost by 20, and TV ads are increasing our cost by 1,100. We can reduce them, so we can reduce the requirement of 10 TV ads by 5 actually. Here it's showing that we can reduce it by 5 and still get 61,500 customers. Okay, so it's a substantial improvement actually. Okay, so we can do that. That's a very good thing. Then in that case, what was the mistake there? Okay, let's see what happens then. Okay, let's reduce this by 5 and see. Okay. All right. So I'll just do this again actually, so that it doesn't disturb this thing here. So now I'm requiring this to be only 5. So what happens to our solution? So now the TV requirement has come down, so our cost will come down. Okay, so minimize cost. These are the variables. First 2 are less than or equal to these 2. These 2 are greater than or equal to these 2. And these last 5 are less than or equal to these last 5. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now we're down to 5 TV ads, and we're using up all of the other. Very nice solution. We're still able to get 61,500 customer reach with much lower cost because the TV cost is down. much lower cost, and now unfortunately we cannot go any lower, right? Because everything else has been exhausted. Okay, everything else is exhausted, and the dual values remain exactly the same. So this time, customer reach, to reach one more customer, we have to spend 0.4. There, how much was it? Oh, that was also 0.4, huh? So if I want to reach one more customer, the cost is 40 cents. So that, okay. I think the original dual one was 33, yeah? Here's 33 cents for 50,000. At the higher level, this is now 40. Okay? So very, of course, I think that's all really. Yeah, that's all. So, okay, so that was an interesting, oh, we have plenty of more time, so we'll do some more of these. Okay, so that was a nice type of application. So let's just, let's just look at their recommendations also. We can use this. So here are their recommendations. Same sort of, okay. Optimal solution calls for advertisements to be distributed among daytime TV, daily newspaper, Sunday newspaper, and radio. Maximum number of exposure quality units is 2370, and total number of customers reached is 61,500. Well, how do I do that is the question. I'm not so. Do you have Google Drive here? The one student will ping you. What do I tell him? Why don't you ping him right now since he's getting anxious, it looks like. Yeah? Okay, so what were you saying? Okay, so the reduced costs indicate that the number of exposure units for evening TV will have to increase by, what is happening? Can you explain TV ads in report 6? Report 6, huh? Which one? Oh. This one, huh? In the Excel, right, yeah, I understood. TV ads. This one, huh? This one here. Is that what you want? Yeah, okay. All right, now here, what this is saying is, the shadow price is still 1,100. That means if we increase the TV ad requirements, the cost will increase by 1,100. But we are not allowed to decrease it, because if you look at the decrease part, it's zero. This is zero, basically. So we're not able to decrease the TV ads anymore. If we increase them, the cost will increase by 1,100. That's what this is saying. Okay? Understood? By the way, I'll just make these all should be zero here. All very small numbers, so that's why we'll just make them zero. Okay. And these are infinity, by the way. This is also zero. Right? All these numbers here are infinity. Okay? Okay, understood? We have already reduced, so no more decrease. Exactly. So then we cannot decrease that more. If we increase it, the cost will increase by 1,100. That's what this is saying. Okay. Okay. All right. So that is that. Okay. Let's do some more things. Oh, let's finish this. So the recommendations are very similar again. Budget constraint has a dual value of 0.06. Therefore, $1 increase in advertising budget will lead to 0.06 exposure quality units. Dual value of -25 for constraint 7 indicates that increasing the number of TV ads commercials by 1 decreases the exposure quality by 25. Alternatively, decreasing the number of TV ads will increase the exposure quality by 25 units. Okay. So, relaxing jury should consider reducing the requirement of at least 10 TV commercials. Okay, another possible, okay, like that, okay? So, very similar. Okay, let's do one more of these. I think then we'll, okay, this is not so great. Market survey. This is the next one. Okay. Portfolio selection problem. Okay, so again, for those who are interested in portfolio types. Okay, so portfolio selection problems involve situations in which a financial manager must select specific investments. For example, stocks and bonds from a variety of investment alternatives. By the way, I was just doing the same thing in finance class today, actually, by chance. Okay. Anyway, managers of mutual funds, credit unions, insurance companies, and banks frequently encounter such type of problem. The objective function usually is maximizing expected return or minimizing risk. Okay. The constraints usually take the form of restrictions in terms of types of permissible investments, legal aspects, company policy, maximum permissible risk, and so on. Okay. Problems of this type have been formulated and solved by a variety of mathematical programming techniques. In fact, there we're using something called quadratic programming. Here, this is linear programming. Okay, so big difference. Right? All right, so let's look at this interesting case. Wealth Mutual Fund located in New York City. They've obtained $1 lakh by converting industrial bonds and are looking now for investment opportunities for these funds. Okay, based on the current investment, the firm's top. Oh, what is this? Okay. Sorry. The firm's top financial analyst recommends all new investments to be made in oil industry, steel industry, or government bonds. Specifically, the analyst identified 5 investment opportunities and projected their annual rates of return. Okay. The investments and rates of return are shown as below. So, there are 2 oil investments, Atlantic Oil, Pacific Oil, giving 7.3%, 10.3% return. Then 2 steel, that is Midwest Steel and Huber Steel, giving 6.4 and 7.4, and government bonds, which give 4.5%. Okay. Now, so the management has imposed the following guidelines. Neither industry should receive more than 50,000. Government bonds should be at least 25% of steel industry investments, and investments in Pacific Oil, high return but high risk investments, cannot be more than 60% of total oil industry investments. Okay, that's okay. So how can we invest this $100,000 to maximize our total return? Okay, so that's our objective. Okay, so of course, the investment, so how much we're investing in each alternative are the variables. So A, P, M, G, H, and G. The investment in each of the alternatives. And we're trying to maximize the total return. So we use the projected rates of return multiplied by the corresponding investment. So 0.073A plus 0.103P plus 0.064M plus 0.075H plus 0.045G. That's the total return which we're trying to maximize. Okay? And the first constraint is how to invest the entire 10,000. So A plus P plus M plus H plus G is equal to 10,000. Okay? And next we require that neither industry should receive more than 50,000. So oil is A plus P, that should be less than 50,000. Steel is M plus H, that should also be less than 50,000. Okay. Then what we have is, so government bonds should be at least 25% of steel industry investment. So G should be greater than or equal to 0.25 into steel industry investment is M plus H. Okay. And finally, Pacific Oil cannot be more than 60% of total oil industry investment. So P should be less than or equal to 60% of A plus P. And so The final problem will look like this. So first few are, so this is our total return. That's what we're maximizing. First three constraints are available funds, oil industry and steel industry restrictions. Then government bond minimum, 25%, that one, and Pacific oil restriction is the last one. So 5 constraints. Should I solve it or should we just look at the solution there? Look at the solution, yes, saves a little time. Okay, so, yeah, same methods, yeah. Solution methods are, okay. So now, what is our solution? Well, our optimal solution is invest 20,000 in Atlantic oil, 30,000 in Pacific oil, 0 in Midwest steel, 4,000 in Huber steel, 40,000, sorry, 40,000 in Huber steel, and 10,000 in government bonds. And our total return is $8,000. Okay, so these are the investments and this. And notice Midwest Steel has a reduced price. Why? Well, it's very simple where this reduced price is coming from. Reduced cost is coming from. Notice that, see, there's nothing that forces us to invest. See, here there's something forcing us to invest in Atlantic oil, but nothing forces us to invest in Midwest Steel. And if you look at the returns, Midwest Steel is exactly 1.1% less than Huber Steel. That's what the reduced cost is. The reduced cost is the difference between the rate of return of Huber Steel and Midwest Steel. If we invest in Midwest Steel, we're losing out 1.1%. That's what this is saying. Okay? All right, now, which constraints are binding? Well, first constraint, which is total funds, and the dual value is 0.069. That means marginal rate of return of this portfolio is 6.9%. If I invest one more dollar, the return on this additional dollar is 6.9%. But one peculiar thing is that, see, I've invested $100,000 and I've got 8,000 return. So the rate of return of the portfolio is 8%. But marginal rate of return is 6.9%. Why is that happening? If my portfolio is giving 8%, why shouldn't my marginal rate of return also be 8%? Well, because I've totally exhausted the 5,000 investment in oil. Oil, by the way, if you look at it, is the one that gives you higher return, right? Oil gives 10.3% return. Here you're only getting 7.5%. So you want to invest in oil. But because it's already saturated, additional investments must go to Huber Steel and government bonds. And that's why the rate of return, marginal rate of return that we're getting is 6.9%, not 8%. Okay? If we could increase the investment in oil, then we could get 8% marginal rate of return. So if we increase that by 1 also, if we increase this by 1 and this by 1, then we'll get rate of return of 8%. Okay? All right? So that's where that comes from. Now, this is the rate of return if we increase the investment available for oil industry. So if we increase this without even changing the available funds, we can increase the rate of return by 2.2%. Okay? Notice we are not using up all the investment in steel, and that's why this has 0 dual value. Now, this negative dual value indicates that if we invest more in government bonds, if we require more to be invested in government bonds, our rate of return will decrease. Okay. And the last one, positive dual value here, indicates that if we are able to invest more than 60% in Pacific, again, rate of return would increase. Okay? So, okay, so dual value Business, steel industry. Okay, so the same things. Okay, so if more funds are obtained at cost less than 6.9%, management should increase the budget. But by how much can we increase? Oh, they have given that here. Okay. Oh, actually, then we can do it. I'll do it quickly. So, very quickly, let's do it. Okay. All right. So, what are the things? Atlantic Oil, Pacific Oil, Midwest Steel, Huber Steel, and government bonds. Okay. These are the variables. I'll just quickly do this. It'll because the additional output that we can get is how much more we can invest. Total returns 0.073, 0.103, 0.064, 0.075, and 0.045. Okay, those are the returns. Then total investment. Total investment. Oil investment. And steel investment. Okay. Oh, knew that I misspelled it. Okay. Then government bond, minimum government bond, and max Pacific Oil. Okay. So what do we have? Oh, how can say? I'll show you. How it means here in the book, huh? See, first constraint is this one, and if you look at this, you see surplus, slack surplus is 0. That indicates that when the slack or surplus is 0, that indicates binding constraint. Okay. All right. So total investment is 11111. Oh, and then oil and steel, and then here government bonds is, we'll put a 1 here, and minus 0.25 here, minus 0.25 here, and for Pacific Oil, 0.6, no, 1 minus 0.6 is 0.4 here, and here I have minus 0.6. Okay, so that's how the constraints work out. So I've just brought everything to left hand side, that's all. So this and this, and we fix these. Okay, this one and this one. Copy and paste here. Okay, this is okay. Okay, you can put equal to, less than equal to, and greater than equal to here, and less than equal to again here. So this is how much? 100,000, then 50,000, 50,000, and 0, 0. Okay. 0, 0, because what I've done is I've brought the objectives to, so I've brought these to, so here we have to keep all variables on the left hand side. So take that left hand side, what we'll be left with is 0 in both. Okay, and now let's maximize. So maximize where the variable and the constraint. So okay, I'll take the first one equal to, though we could have taken less than equal to also actually. Convenience, we should have taken it. And these are greater than equal to. Okay, so, right, same solution. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. That's why we got, okay, so this is less than equal to, that's why we got a wrong solution. All right. Ah, yes. Thank you. Sorry. Greater than equal to, I'm going to change. Okay, so just this one is greater than equal to this one. Okay. And this one is less than equal to this one again. Okay, yeah. All right, so we got it. All right, remove this. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so we got the same things. 20,000, 30,000, 0, 40,000 and 10,000. Reduced price is minus, reduced cost is minus 0.011, just as we got there. Everything is the same as what they have there. So same things, right? Exactly the same things if you see are here. Only reason I did all this was to look at how much more we can invest. And how much more can we invest? This much. 1,25,000. One second. Hello. Okay. Just 1 second on this call. Call her back. Hello. Yeah. Oh, just another 10 minutes or so. I'll finish. Okay. 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. Just park. Okay. I'll just come. One minute. Huh? Yeah. Close it. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Right. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Okay. So all we did all this just to find out what is this allowable increase. So we can invest another 12,500. That's the, so for, in other words, to get this rate of return, this marginal rate of return, up to another 12,500, after which it's saturated. You'll only get government bond money, because after that, oil and steel will be saturated, 15,000, and so only thing left is government bonds, and so the rate of return will come down to 4.5%. So that's that. Yeah. Okay. In fact, we can do it and show you. So if I increase this now to 1,12,500, 1,500, huh? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Okay, now everything will be invested in all the, okay, so, all right. So now what will happen is, so here we have 50,000, here also 50,000, here 12,500, and from here onwards, the dual value will change. What do you see? Total investment, the dual value is 4.5%. Okay, so any additional investment will just give you 4.5. So it was, marginal rate of return was 6.9%. It's come down to 4.5%. Okay? All right, and now it can go on till infinity, really. Okay, so now, if possible, and there are many interesting applications here. Try to go through these 2 chapters, if possible. Try to go through these 2 chapters. Very useful applications you'll see. Okay, I think, okay, why don't we stop here today? All right, we'll continue maybe. Okay, so our next topic will be something called transportation and assignment problems, which is a special application of this. But for the moment, why don't you, sorry? So it's not there in the, yeah, of course it's there. It's there, of course. There should be middle chapters on prescriptive analytics, right? It's there, of course it's there. Yeah, from page 441. But not as many applications as in this book. Okay? It has, of course it has. But not as many applications in this book. So that's why I'm giving this as supplementary material. Okay? Alright? Now, please go through these. We'll see if we can do some more type of applications in our next class. We'll see. Anyway, some interesting things are also there. Okay? So, we'll, I think, close for today. I'm actually feeling a bit acidic, not feeling all that well. Okay, so, alright, so we'll do some more of these in our next class. Okay? Okay, good. So, let's pause the recording.